Oh, wow.
Turnover.
No.
Game to tie. Oh! Majok Deng. Deng. Goes around and out. Elton Doyle kicks it home. Have a look at what it means to Scott Roth.
Bloody good. How good. These JackJumpers. They just never say die.
Welcome to Tasmanian Takeover. I am Berto with my co-host JD. How are you, mate?
I'm good, mate. I never get sick of seeing Scott Roth lose his shit at the end of a game. How
Absolutely love it. If you ever want to feel good, just watch a Rothy moment. Seriously, it is so good. So, yes, you are tuned into Tasmanian Takeover for another week. Tasmanian Takeover is your fan-by-fan podcast from the Basketball Fix, all about the mighty JackJumpers. And we have got a pretty jam-packed episode for you as we go through some highs, some lows, and potentially look at what the season as we come to the final run before the play-in series for NBL 25. But before we do go anywhere, let's get the housekeeping out of the way. So do make sure you head over to thebasketballfix.com for your NBL insights, reviews, views, and of course, these fan podcasts for all the teams in the NBL as we start to bring them on. We've, of course, there's your boys here. We've got the Hawks Hangout, the Wildcat Wrap. We've got the Kings Table. And we've also got the Breakers one. What are they calling themselves again, JD?
The Breakdown, isn't it?
Yeah, Breakers Breakdown, which is could be kind of,
relevant.
fitting. I believe we are weeks away from the Bullets getting their one up and running, so it's pretty good. This is probably also a good opportunity too to say make sure you head over to the socials, the Basketball Fix on all the social media. You'll find it there being, they're on YouTube, they're on Insta, they're on Facebook, they're on X, they're on TikTok. So if you can't find them, please shout out. And of course, make sure you do check out our mini site, beacons.ai/Tasmanian Takeover, where we have got all the episodes on there, all the articles that JD has been working on, and even our crossover episodes where we get together with other hosts from the Basketball Fix cohort to talk all things NBL. So, how's your week been, JD? What's been happening?
It's been good, mate. I think it's probably worth mentioning one more podcast in Beyond the Buzzer on the Basketball Fix suite. You've changed hats for the night. You've taken your dulcet tones over to Beyond the Buzzer.
Yes.
You decided to diversify a bit and go over there and talk about nothing but the Tassie JackJumpers. I loved it.
Yeah, look, the boys hit me up and said, would I come on and co-host with them because Jeremy or Jazz, he is off gallivanting around, and they're like, Berto, can you come and represent? And of course, when I got in there, it's been a big JackJumpers week and seemed to be the high topic of conversation. And then, of course, when we got into other areas of the show, I had to lean into what I know and what I know well and what I'm passionate about, which was the Jackie. So if you're almost like a Tasmanian Takeover 2.0 episode, please go and check out this week's Beyond the Buzzer. And there's also a potential that in upcoming weeks, you might see this head and hear these dulcet tones on there again as I help them out in a couple of weeks' time.
Looking forward to it, mate. In other news, my Fringe Festival run is coming up and selling very well. We sold out our biggest venue during the week, the Leaderville Hotel, so you can't get tickets to that anymore.
Well done, brother.
Crazy. But we've still got tickets to
that's
our
a good
Rockingham.
Problem to have. Good problem
It is, absolutely. Absolutely. There is still tickets to our Rockingham, Kalamunda, and Fremantle shows. So if you're down in the ports or up in the hills, you can still come and see my military themed Fringe Festival show.
So that's Tropic Blunder, isn't it?
Tropic Blunder at the Fringe Festival website.
Beautiful. That's awesome, man. Dude, honestly, much respect for being able to sell that out. Unfortunately, obviously not being in WA, I won't get to see it, but hopefully you'll have a few internet snippets for me to look at and then rip shit on you later on about.
100%.
Little bit of sad news in the Basketball Fix crew. Just recently, we want to give our thoughts to SJ from the King's Table. He's had a bit of a nasty accident. We won't go into it on here. It's probably not our place, but he's had a bit of a nasty accident that's probably going to put him out of action for a little bit. SJ, our thoughts are with you, brother. Speedy recovery and all of that. And looking forward to having you on the airways in hopefully a very short amount of time.
Yeah, all the best, mate.
All right. Well, before we get into reviewing the games, which, yes, much like last week, I'm probably going to procrastinate a little bit here. I'm ready to get. I don't know if I'm ready for the highs and lows of that yet. Let's get into our Nest on Notice and talk a little bit of news around the place. And JD, what's the first piece of big news, or should I say maybe little news?
We are lucky enough to have our second baby Jack Jumper on board. Jordan Teapot Crawford is a new dad. Congratulations, JC. Little Asher Don Crawford was born on the 10th of the 1st, and we couldn't be happier. Obviously, the other Jack Jumper is I forget the name, but Josh Majet's little one was born in Tasmania, and I remember everyone was really disappointed that his little boy wasn't named Jack.
Didn't Captain Clint also have his youngest here as well?
Oh, you're probably right. Actually, my sister-in-law might have received their mail a couple of weeks back. So that probably it's probably the third. Come to think of it,
yeah, which is fantastic. It's lovely to see that the team. I mean, we talk so highly about the team and the family culture they build, and the fact that they build such a wonderful culture as an organization. And it is lovely that the boys are moving down here with their families and, having more children, or just integrating their family into the community and becoming part of what is so wonderful down here in Tasmania.
It's and Scott Roth goes on about it at every press conference. We are a family club. He's on the record as saying that he prefers to recruit married guys. For that very reason. He loves the family values. He wants people that are humble and hungry. And is there anyone more hungry than a new dad? Hungry and sleep deprived, I'd imagine.
Hungry and sleep deprived, yeah, I reckon you're right. All right, well, with that lovely bit of news, we've got a little bit of unfortunate news that has come out of this with our man Majok Deng out with injury for this upcoming game, potentially the game against the Kings as well. So he'll be out with injury for the Breakers game Thursday night, depending on when you're watching this, and potentially uncertain as to whether he'll be out for the Kings game on Sunday the 19th. What'd you hear about this one, JD? It sounds pretty gnarly.
This is devastating. We gave Majok a call out in our first Tasmanian Takeover episode that we want to see some more from him, and he has delivered in spades ever since we mentioned him. This is a massive. I would argue this could be, of the three injuries we've got, this could be the most significant in the context of where we are in the season. Have we thought about maybe taking kickboxing out of our training schedule? All these injuries seem to happen at training. What are they doing over there?
I'm starting to wonder if Roffy's running a pit fighting arena over at Kingsborough just quietly. I mean, it's Look, I really do hope this isn't all that bad. It sounds like it actually happened during the members open practice that occurred the other day. It sounds like it was something as simple as just Deng come down and landed on another player. I won't, because I didn't see it, I won't say which player. a little bit of reading the comments in the Jack Jumpers fan page, fan group on Facebook. By the sounds of it, it's he came down and landed on GG, but I've got no other way to qualify that. Either way, these things happen. It is a practice, and I'm sure the boys are practicing hard as they come to the end of the season. But what a kick in the teeth, to be honest with you, particularly on the back of our game against the Wildcats, where we really looked like we were needing all hands on deck at full capacity. But we'll talk about that shortly as we get into the dissection of the games.
Ankles are a bugger as well. A couple of years ago, I decided I was going to play one more game of one more season of amateur football for the mighty Mount Lawley Hawks. And I trained all preseason. I did a full preseason, and I was in pretty good nick at 32 years old. And in my first game, I forgot to strap my ankles, and I went up and I took an uncontested mark, and I came down and I rolled my ankle, and I was stretched off. And I missed the rest of the season. I played 3 quarters, and that was me.
Nasty.
My rehab wasn't as impressive as what Majok is going to go through, I'd imagine. Beers on the couch are not great for for ankle injuries.
They're more for step and tricep and reach.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
And reach and live. Good for the fingers too, and crack.
Absolutely.
All right, well, let's not dwell on Deng's injury, but let's reflect on something that was a lot more positive, being in Ant Attack, where we're going to review the games that were and the games that will be over the last couple of weeks, well, over the last week and into the next week. And the first game against the Adelaide 36ers at the Nest on the 10th of January, we got a win 104-103 our way, and we went into overtime. And what a game it was. My initial thoughts of the game was that after a very solid opener, we started to get a little bit sloppy in the second and allowed a few easy runs by Adelaide. You saw that where KD was able to just pretty much run down the court uncontested, rolled out the red carpet, stopped for a beer on the way, and then decided to pop it into the ring.
He was awesome. He looked like Adelaide's only player at times.
Absolutely. But that being said, Adelaide did also show quite a bit of fight there, and obviously had our number. Quite a bit of back and forthing for a while there. But then when it got down to it, we got into, I'd say the second half of the third was where we really started to see that we were getting hold of this. And in the fourth, it was, we were starting to get our hands around the game again. And then, of course, we managed to make it into overtime. Mm-hmm. JD, what were your thoughts on it? And then we'll start to get into some of the statistics and some of the player performances.
Oh, I loved it. How can you not? It's as a supporter, those are the worst games to watch, but simultaneously the best games to watch, because these are moments you'll never forget, right? I'll never forget Majok Deng punching his chest and just giving it to the My State Arena crowd. I hope that I live to see Majok Deng rousing up My State Arena at My State Arena one day. I haven't got there yet, but I intend to. There was some really interesting stats, I guess. Our rebounds nearly hit 50. We had 49 rebounds, which is awesome. That's exactly where the coaching staff want to see. The assists, we had a season high of 26 assists, and we also cracked the magic field goal percentage number of 50%. When we shoot over 50% field goals, we always win. 100% of the games we've played where we've hit 50% of our field goals, we've won. So we nailed that. We were accurate. We were also defensive. It was a great game, bar a few sloppy moments. Statistically, it was fantastic.
I'll tell you what's fantastic. You've obviously gone off and done your homework, Rain Man, and started to work out some analytics. I'm impressed.
Maybe I'm becoming professional. This is unheard of.
Oh no. A couple of major call-outs here, really. I mean, Majok Deng was the player of the game. He had an absolute ball terror. 26 points, 8 rebounds, 2 assists. I mean, the man was on fire. Got to give a huge shout-out to the Dart, Nick Stoddart. And I'll tell you what I really liked about that. JD and I are going to take claim for this one because, as you've probably picked up, if you've been listening since day dot, we've been given nicknames out left, right, and centre. Some of these nicknames we've already both had for a while. Other nicknames, JD's been letting them rattle around in his brain for a bit. And we're like, what are we going to call Nick when we saw that he was in the starting lineup? And, of course, me with my originality went Stoddart, Dart. That'll work. And then, as it turns out, commentary on the day we're referring to him or referring to his shot, that he shoots like a dart. Or
wasn't
flat,
he hitting bullseyes left, right, and centre? He was great.
When we're shooting like that, I don't give a shit how he shoots. Heck, he could do it blindfolded over his shoulders for all I care. To come out and, okay, yes, he got a few minutes in a previous game. Nothing really major to talk about, but we might as well say this was his real NBL minutes and the drop back-to-back threes. It was a fantastic showing from the young man. So
it's a shame. It's a shame that he got into foul trouble because he looked fantastic. If he learns to keep his hands to himself, he could be a real asset for us in the last few games.
And look, I think that's just going to come with practice and discipline because obviously they'll practice that at practice, but there's a whole different element to it when you've got the energy and the excitement playing there in the arena. I mean, come on, even playing at my state arena is going to have a whole nother element to it. So I think he'll be absolutely phenomenal. And I have to say, is this another Roffy brilliant find? I mean, he's obviously been sitting on him for a while. He's come in to the lineup due to Shawnee Mack's injury, and Shawnee Mack got a similar call up, I think, due to injury, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, I've had a few sleeps since then, and I'm getting old and a little bit, forgetting things. But I've got a feeling Shawnee Mack got the opportunity out of injury as well, came on and
might have been Majok again.
Could have been, yeah. And came out impressed, and the rest is history. Is this the starting of a new story for Nick Stoddart? We shall see.
Fingers crossed, yeah.
So, yeah, that was a fantastic game. JackJumpers, I am going to need to ask you to reach out to St. Luke's and potentially get me some high-level insurance for the freaking heart attacks you give me. I tell you what, look, I'm a big guy. I probably need some kind of insurance on my heart, but I really don't need that level of stress in my life. It felt like, I don't know, it felt like we were playing for our lives. I'm sitting here watching the game with a mate of mine, and the two of us are on the edge of our seat having heart palpitations. So, yeah, go figure. But then, actually, before we move into the Wildcats game, we've also got to give a shout out to that final inbound and the tenacity of Milton Doyle. That was insane. And when something like miss, he got his miss, rim bounce, got that, and then he tapped it in. Old mate was not giving it up. He was going to get that final point, whether he had to assassinate half the court. I'm convinced.
0.2 seconds left on the clock for Milt to just tap it in. Maybe he was milking the clock a little bit by just tapping it against the rim a couple of times before putting it in, and then just backing away, looking like he just woke up, like he always does. Like it's just another day at the office for Milton Doyle. I was talking to someone the other day. I forget who it was. It might have been Bats from the Wildcat Rap, and I just said, "Old Milton, he's our breaking case of emergency player. When we need something to happen, we break the glass and we release the Milton Doyle. Just ice in his veins.
Ice in his vein, and so chill. So chill. I mean, you know that little chill dog meme they've got floating around? That's Milt. That's just Milt. Just chill guy.
Yep.
All right, well, let's talk about something that wasn't so chill, and that was the Perth Wildcats game at MyState Bank Arena on the 12th of January. So a couple of days after the Adelaide game, and it wasn't good. 73-105. The Cats won it. Look, JD and I really, really wanted to see the Cats go down, so we could absolutely give it to Ads on the Wildcat Wrap and rip into Josh from Beyond the Buzzer and the Basketball Fix in general, and just really jam it up them because, you know, they're hardcore Perth supporters. Well, we had to sit there and eat humble pie. And I'll tell you what, that humble pie tasted really, really dirty.
Mm-hmm.
Player of the game, look, I don't think we've even bothered to try and look at if it was a JackJumpers performer because it was just not a great game from anyone. Mm-hmm. If there's any takeaways from this, though, what was cool was Roffey ended up getting all the DPs onto the court at some point. I don't think there was anyone who didn't get to rake up some minutes, and that was pretty cool because we got to even see the likes of Woodall on there, Archie Woodall, who I've been wanting to know how good this guy could go since I saw that we took him on as a DP. Why? Because he is a centre. We've got another big man there potentially waiting in the wings, and when there has been a lot of discussion around Will Magnay, injuries, who backs him up, it'd be nice to know that there might be a young guy who's been taken under Mags's wing and can, you know, bang like he does. And I was pretty impressed for the few minutes he got. I thought that was quite good from him. JD, break down the game for us, mate. What did you reckon?
Well, just on your point there, it was good to see a few new nicknames on the court. Obviously, the Dart got a few more minutes. The barometer, Walter Brown, we call him the barometer because whenever he gets minutes, it means the game's been decided, so we can tell whether we've won or lost based on when Walter comes on. It was good to see Brody Nunn. His last name is Nunn because that's how many minutes he gets usually per game. So he's going to have to change his last name. And I've I've branded Archie Woodhill the People's Mullet because the long flowing mane it needs to become a staple at MyState Arena, I think.
It's a pretty majestic mane he's got on there. I mean, I reckon it's up there with Trevor's just quietly.
100%. So I had a look because I'm a professional analyst now, Birdo. I had a look at the stats. And funnily enough, the stats, I know visually the game looked pretty awful from sort of the first quarter onwards, but statistically we actually had an okay game. The only real damning stat that we had was our field goal conversion. Our field goal conversion was 34.6. Remember, the magic number is 50. The magic number is actually 45. When we shoot at under 45%, we are 11 losses and 4 wins. So it's a pretty fine. There's a 5% margin of error there for the JackJumpers. We had 114 shots, which is actually really good. Generally, we win 2 out of 3 games that we are above 100 shots in. So statistically, we should have been a lot closer than we probably were. We've just got to get that conversion up. We were shooting it like it was the ball was the hoop was a bloody teacup.
That's a very fair point. And look, we could. It's a rough team to be shooting like that when you've got Bryce Cotton over there just doing a number on us. I think this is where we really did miss McDonald. Shawnee Mack would have been all up in his business, and we've seen Shawnee Mack shut Bryce down before. Look, onwards and upwards on that one. A couple other things to point out. That was the 350th game for our man, Captain Clint Steinel, and 250th game for our man, Majok Deng. So fantastic to see. A couple of absolute weapons, raking up the numbers of professional games. I mean, for Captain Clint, he He's just phenomenal as far as I'm concerned, as far as being a leader goes. I'm not going to get into any arguments, and I've been baited into arguments before around his stats and whatever else. As a leader, it is clear why they continue to vote him in as captain each year. And what I do like is how he conducts himself post-interview whenever we've lost. You don't even have to post-interview. Well done, Clint. Post-game presser whenever we've lost, because you don't even have to know that we've lost to then turn around, open up the YouTube and see the thumbnail and see Roffy and Captain Clint there to go, did we lose? And he conducts himself so well. There's no excuses made. It's about rally around the boys, go back to what we're doing. And I think as a leader, he is phenomenal. And I don't know how much longer he's got in his playing career, but I think he will start to make a very, very good coach at some point. So mark my words, I wouldn't be surprised if we see Captain Clint take the route of Jared Weeks and end up as an assistant coach in the near future for the Jackies.
I was going to say, you reckon the janitor's just keeping his seat warm while Captain Clint comes down the pipeline?
I don't really think about keeping the seat warm, but I think he will follow in the path. I guess for Weeksy, it's going to depend on as he develops as from assistant coach into a head coach. So obviously Weeksy's going to get his opportunity to head coach the Hobart Chargers this upcoming NBL 1 season. And I guess then what does that open up as far as coaching opportunities around the league? And who knows? We may see Weeksy as a head coach for, as much as I don't want to say it, another team.
Yep.
So let's see. And Deng, 250 games for the forgotten one. He ain't forgotten anymore. Deng, you are far from forgotten, old mate. Fantastic showing.
You're the man. I'll echo what you said about Shawnee Mack. I've obviously been over here in Perth. I've watched a lot of the JackJumpers versus the Wildcats. This is hand on my heart the first time I can honestly say that I noticed Bryce Cotton have a major influence on any game, and that's largely been thanks to McDonald wearing him like OJ's glove. You know what I mean?
You're a shocker. All right, well, Wildcat rap, boys. You get this one. Don't get too cocky about it. We're coming for you. And if we get into the playoffs, we've done it before. We'll do it again. Watch yourselves.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah. All right, game predictions. So we've got a couple of games coming up. As mentioned, depending on when you're listening to this, we've got a game against the New Zealand Breakers at Spark Arena on the 16th of January. So a Thursday night game. What can I tell you? Breakers have lost 4 of the last 5 games they've played, and we've beaten them by decent margins 3 times this season. Where we've got some issues to consider is the fact that Deng is out with his ankle injury, but we've got Walter Brown coming in as his replacement. Can't really say too much about Walt and whether or not that is you can see that being a fair replacement or, like for like swap out. But this is great that we've got that next man mentality, and hopefully Walt can do great things. What does concern me, PJC is back. And given the fact that we're the reason why he had to have a little sit down and a lie down and he was put in timeout for a while, is he coming back with vengeance? Is he coming back out for blood? Has he been training? Is it almost like a no retreat, no surrender montage type thing going on?
Why don't we be watching him and the Terror with a magnifying glass? Are they going to just go straight back to each other? God, I hope so. Make it happen, Rothy.
Look, I'd like to see it happen, but I also hope that we don't end up getting stung for that one. I'd be more than happy if a little bit of niggling, a little bit of baiting goes on, but as long as it's in good sportsmanship. And that was the problem last time. I'm the sort of person who I believe in basketball, whether it be on the street in your backyard, on a court professionally or amateur, that little bit of trash talking on the court is just part of basketball. But there's a big difference between a little bit of baiting and trash talking, whatever else, and wanting to get physical. So, yeah, I hope there's a bit of chirping going on. I hope there's a little bit of trash talking and a bit of good to see you back. Now watch this. Here, hold my beer type situation. But I really hope we keep our composure, play to Jackie's way, and we don't end up getting baited into something that means that we lose more players because we can't afford it. We really cannot afford to have anyone else out of action.
Be interesting to see if the referees need to wear cricket pads or something to protect themselves from PJC as well. I'd recommend it, refs.
Full body training, like when you sit there training Mike Tyson, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. You know those suits they wear when they're training German shepherds.
Yes.
That's what we're going to fit them out in.
Who you got for this one, mate?
Look, with all of our outs, I'm not super hopeful, and to be honest, New Zealand are hitting a bit of form. They should have beaten Melbourne a couple of days ago. If it wasn't for former Tasmanian Chris Goulding, they would have had that, and they would have looked very impressive. Looked like they were playing in an old abandoned aircraft hangar. What was it called? New Plymouth was the stadium they were playing in, and it was it was a really cool vibe. But they took Melbourne right to the buzzer. They should have won that. They got a couple of good players. Karim Lopez is one of their next gen stars. He looks like Andy Samberg with a wig, but he's starting to find his feet and could be a bit of a handful. Mooney is he's just clutch. He's New Zealand's Milton Doyle, if you like. And they've also got a pretty good tall timber brigade in Fall, Bolden, and Menenga, who are just starting to click. And with our mosquito fleet of defenders at the moment, it's going to be tough to contain them. I'm actually thinking they might have us over there. This game, I think it's going to be very tough in front of a New Zealand crowd.
Right, so you've got New Zealand. Look, when I'm looking at my notes, I know what I've written, but I've been on the fence the whole time. Except we heard that Deng was out. I had JJ's down for this one. I'm going to stand by that. And say it's not going to be easy. I really do think that outside of everything you mentioned, we do know how to play New Zealand. And even though they may have almost beaten Melbourne have been not playing very well at all. And the question, I think there's some questions to be asked there, but if Goulding wasn't shooting the lights out, take Goulding out of the equation, what's the rest of Melbourne like? Yeah. So with that being said, though, there is some uncertainty around our team at the moment and how we're going to go. We seem to have found a way to play without Mags and without Shawnee Mack, but now we've got to find a way to play without Deng. I hope Walt fits in nicely and really can play well with them and give them the spacing and just be a general pest to help shut down New Zealand in that way. I hope Milt and JC have been just shooting practice over and over and over again. In fact, we don't end up with the situation where one's firing, the other's not. We need both firing. This is the time when I'm a massive defender of Milt in the fact that when he's not firing, he's doing a lot of other fantastic things on the court. We need both firing. And I really hope that we've also got Nick ready to sit there to line a couple up, which was a little concerning in the Perth game. He really struggled to find the hole as well in that. So hopefully he's got his eye in. He's had a big sleep, and he's ready to fire some more because I reckon we're far from seeing his best yet. So I'm going to give it to the JJs. The dart sharp. I'm going to give it to the JJs for that one. Now the next game. You can read off this one, mate, because I'm sitting on the fence.
Yeah, I might have updated the run sheet this one. I'm branding.
I'm just noticing that. I'm just noticing that you've been playing games in here.
I'm branding this one the Chase Buford Tantrum Cup. From I don't know if you remembered from season 1 of the Jack Jumpers where Chase Buford thought he was he was quite animated, and he thought he'd put his.
Not only do I remember it, but in another group chat I've got going, that was our group chat icon for the longest time. Chasey thinking he was playing soccer at my state's side. What do you call those things? Screens?
Oh, it was an advertising screen. He put his Aquila right through it.
Yeah, and just whack. Good on him.
The thing that got me was he got fined $300. $300 flies out that guy's window when he drives to work. That's but not even.
Didn't he have to? He had to pay.
He did have to pay for it.
I mean, look, $300 for the fine. That was just because he was out of line. I mean, it was stupid. It was hot tempered. Look, he carried on like a pork chop. There's no two ways about it. I'm not even going to defend his behaviour. I mean, there was no need for it. But at the end of the day, all said and done, it's in the heat of battle. And as long as it was all covered and he didn't try to sook on about not paying the fine and not trying to pay for the repairs, and we've now gone a couple of seasons, or a season and best part of one, with perfectly fine LED screens around the place, so things must have been sorted out. But all right, so you're calling this the Chase Buford Interim Cup? Yeah, good idea. Carry on.
So the Sydney Kings. I think I've mentioned before my disdain for the Kings. They're not my favourite. They're not my favourite opposition in the world. They've won 3 of their last 5, but they've been inconsistent. There's 2 different Kings this year: the ones that show up and the ones that don't. Saying that, you can't take them lightly. There's genuine star power in Tui, Noi, Adams, and Cooks. It's a bit like Illawarra, like that they've just got stars everywhere. Who do you cover? I want to touch on Jalen Adams. He looks a bit like Darnell from My Name Is Earl. Remember that show?
Yes, I do. Carry on.
He is a genuine star of the competition, and potentially could rip us to shreds. He never has massive games against us. I remember that in episode 1 you mentioned that you may have put him off at Kudos Bank Arena one time by yelling.
Yeah. So that was last season, and I caught one of the games up at Kudos, and I just happened to be sitting close enough. I wasn't on the courtside seat or anything else. I just managed to get decent tickets without breaking the bank, and Jalen's gone to the line, and I've got a pretty decent loud voice, and it's also not hard to tell who the only Jack Jumper was, because I was the only one in green in a sea of purple. And just as he's about to release, I might have yelled out choke. I don't know. These things happen sometimes, and he might have missed, and he might have given me a death glare, but I felt from 1,000 paces. So that was pretty fun.
Great. We need more of that. We need more chokes from Jalen, if you're listening, and also the rest of your teammates as well. And Quite Noi, I want to touch on as well. He has been an absolute one-man wrecking ball this season. He's just taken bodies left, right, and centre. He also did a really, really good interview on the King's Table a week or so ago with our man SJ. So it's worth heading over there if you're interested in hearing what Quite Noi has to say. Again, I don't see, especially if Majok is not back, I don't see how the Jackies can win this one. It's going to be very, very tough to go up there, especially having just travelled on one of the toughest trips in basketball, the one international trip we do. If you don't class Tassie as international, I've got Sydney here. unfortunately. But I hope they give it a red hot crack.
Yeah, look, all right, a few details here worth covering off. This season, we've lost both games against the Kings, once at Kudos and once at the Silverdome. Now, the Silverdome game was our only home game against them. And look, let's face it, we all know the Silverdome is kryptonite for the Jackies. We don't know what it is. We don't know why it is. But for some reason, we just don't seem to get it done up at the Silverdome. Kudos, I was there for that game, and it was a hard watch. Look, it's no secret. I am also a Kings supporter. So whilst JD has nothing but hatred for the Kings, being an ex-Sydney sider, I do have purple in at least some of my vein. And one thing I do love is watching the clashes between my two home teams. And I do get back to Sydney quite regularly, so I do say I have the two home teams. Of course, when it all comes down to it, I'm as Jackies as they come. But there is something very bittersweet, I guess, in watching a Kings versus Jackies game when the Kings do win. That being said, I am going to be there in Kudos on the 19th. I have got tickets for that game, and I've got a feeling I'm going to be sitting there being laughed at again. I do feel like we are going to lose this one. I don't want to believe that, and I am hoping of all hopes that Deng is back. And heck, if for some strange, crazy reason Magnay got early release, or early clearance, I should say. Early release sounds like we've had him locked up. We've kept Donkey Kong in the barrel
to
there,
save
just
him from
ready to
himself.
go. I would gladly change my tune and go, you're in trouble. This would almost be like one of those times where I wish that basketball was like WWE and this was the Royal Rumble, and then suddenly, at the final minutes, the buzzer goes and who walks out of the tunnel but Jack McVeigh? That would be unreal, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Imagine.
Something tells me that for all the ribbing I did of Jalen Adams last season, it's going to come back and bite me in the ass this season. And yes, I've got a feeling I'll be walking out of Kudos with my tail between my legs. And yes, I'm giving this game to the Kings. So we've got a tough week ahead. It's not pretty. And we might actually just mix this up a little bit, JD. Sorry to do this to you on the fly, but, being the old radio head I am, I'm going to sit there and find the natural segue here and go, let's talk the rest of the season real quickly before we get into Ant-Army antics. Mm-hmm. And we've got, 6 games left to play. And I sat down and did a little bit of win-loss looks, how the Jackies have gone against these teams. So we've got the Breakers coming up. We've had 3 wins against them. The Kings next, we've had 2 losses against them. And these are out of the total games we've played this season. Phoenix, after the Kings, we've played them twice. We've lost against them twice. Hawks, we've played them twice. We've lost against them twice. United, we've played them 3 times. 1 loss, then 2 wins. Taipans, 1 loss, 1 win. That's our home run. I'm concerned. Hey. I am genuinely concerned. Now, one thing that I hold hope out is that if there's one thing we're good at is the grit and grind. We do find a way. But and they reckon the analysis reckons that all we need to do is win 2 more to have that magic percentage that will potentially put us into the play-ins.
Is that right?
But then, they reckon there's a magic number of wins, but then that can also be quite controversial, again, depending on the percentages. And you might find that then it comes down to you've got the same win-loss ratio as another team. They've got a slightly higher percentage because they've got better scores. Mm-hmm. I am concerned. 6 games to go, 3 major injuries. Yep. Now, hopefully Deng's is only these first 2 games, but I'm not liking the fact that I would normally say that in a normal situation, the Breakers should be our win. Taipan should be our win, and shit, I'd even say United would be our win. Mm-hmm. With Kings, Phoenix, and Hawks being generally not going in our favour, right now I'm really concerned, JD. What about you?
Yeah, massively. You sort of can't blame the Jack Jumpers because we've just had bad injuries at the wrong time. Look, I'm buoyed that we need to win 2 of 6. That seems doable. Looking at the teams that we play, they're all going to be a challenge unless we can get Majok and Mags back in a hurry. We get those 2 back, all of a sudden I'm confident again. But there is a very real chance that we drop out and have an early season. Birdo, we'll close up the podcast early.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Let's hang in hope and hope that the grit and grind really sees us through. The next man mentality helps us, and let's hope they surprise us. I really quite like in the show notes you sat there and you posted one of the guys in the Jack Jumpers fan group had actually been playing around with the NBL's ladder predictor. And
we'll give him a shout out. This is Craig. This is Craig Clark's post. He posted a fantastic post in the Jack Jumpers fans page, and I'll read it verbatim. I've played with the NBL's ladder predictor, and this is what it looks like. If the higher ranked team wins their remaining matches, we will finish the season in 6th place. So on the table, if in every match, if the higher ranked team wins, we'll finish in 6th. Any chance of upwards movement for us is really up to us winning the game or 2 we shouldn't, or Southeast Melbourne losing one they shouldn't lose. Then we may finish 5th. If the Brisbane Bullets, or spent ammo as I call them, because they've got so many ex-JJs in their team, the Brisbane Bullets are the JJ's retirement home, let's be honest. If they have an upset win or 2, they could sneak into 5th or 6th spot at our expense, pushing us out of finals. If we finish the season in 6th, we'll have to win 2 sudden death away games in a row to make the playoffs, which we know we can do. Those 2 play in games will most likely be set against Southeast Melbourne first and then Perth Wildcats. If we finish the season in 5th, we will likely have the same path as above, but we'll get to host the first game against Southeast Melbourne at home. My prediction are based on a higher ranked team always winning. Of course, this may not be the case. Thanks very much, Craig Clark. That was a fantastic post. I really enjoyed that and made some really, really good points.
Absolutely. And look, I played around with the ladder predictor myself as well. And yeah, that was the biggest concern, the Bullets. Mm-hmm. That was where, without even having read Craig's post, just seeing it there and having a bit of a play myself, that was where I watched our season fall apart, the Bullets. So in some respects, the ex-JJs hold our fate in their hands. So
come on, boys.
A little bit concerned. All right, so let's not end on a negative note. Let's get into a little bit of anti-army antics. And this week we've really only got one bit of antic, if you will, one small piece of antic news to talk about, and that is our McVeigh watch. And McVeigh is, of course, doing fantastic things in the G League with the Rio Grande Valley Vipers. How's his last couple of games been, JD?
Really strong. So he's scored more than 20 points in his last 5 games in a row. Oklahoma City Blues, he played in a loss and played out of his skin. He was carrying that team by himself, basically. 29 points, 5 rebounds, 0 assists, because he didn't need to give any assists because he's Jack McVeigh. And then against the Iowa Wolves, he scored 20 points, 7 rebounds, and 5 assists because his teammates decided to rock up that game, apparently. He's starring. I've lost all hope of getting Jack back, which is amazing for him. Not great for us.
No, it's not. And look, I looked at the averages for him. He's played 7 games in this current season in the G League, and we're talking regular season, not pre-season. And on average, it's 16.3 points, 5.7 rebounds, and 2.4 assists. So they're fantastic numbers. And if they're not paying attention to him over there, well, let's put it this way. He's already got highlight reels and whatever else floating around on the net at the moment. So he's certainly making a name for himself. All right. Well, we have run a little bit overtime today, but we had an awful lot to talk about and an awful lot to dissect and potentially also reconcile over a little bit. Make sure you do tune into the Basketball Fix's multiple podcasts, Beyond the Buzzer, Hawks Hangout, Breakers Breakdown, Wildcat Rap, and when it does come back online, the King's Table. And make sure you are following them on all the social media channels. Do head over to beacons.ai/Tasmanian Takeover to catch all our shows and episodes and write-ups that JD does. And more importantly, please continue to like, subscribe, and share. We want to continue doing this, and we want our audience to grow organically, and the only way to do that is to tell the bloody algorithms to actually put us as a slight priority. So help us out. Much like the Tasmanian JackJumpers, we're trying to bat above our size and weight. And that's the best way to do it. JD, thanks for hanging with me for another episode.
See you next week.
Catch you next week. Bye for now.